Medieval kings ruled lands that looked rich on maps, but in reality, most of them were always short of money. Castles, armies, courts, and wars created the image of power, yet behind that image was a constant struggle to pay for even basic government. The reason was not personal failure or poor intelligence, it was structural. Medieval kings did not control money the way modern states do, and without that control, power was expensive but fragile. In the medieval world, wealth did not move easily. Most value existed as land, crops, and labor, not coins. Peasants paid rents in grain, animals, or work, not cash. This meant kings could not simply collect money and spend it where they wanted. To turn food and labor into usable funds, they had to rely on middlemen, merchants, and nobles, each of whom took a share. By the time value reached the crown, much of it was already gone. Taxes were difficult to raise and even harder to enforce. Kings could not tax freely. They needed permission from nobles, estates, or assemblies. Every new tax risked rebellion. Most rulers lived in constant negotiation with elites who protected their own wealth first. When taxes were approved, collection was slow, inefficient, and corrupt. Large parts of the economy remained invisible to the crown. War made everything worse. Armies were not standing institutions. They had to be raised, equipped, fed, and paid each time conflict arose. Soldiers expected wages. Mercenaries demanded cash up front. Horses, weapons, and supplies drained treasuries quickly. Wars rarely paid for themselves. Even victory created debt. Kings borrowed constantly. Italian bankers, Jewish financiers, and merchant houses became essential to medieval rule. Loans were secured against future taxes, royal lands, or trade privileges. Interest accumulated, defaults were common. When kings failed to repay, financiers were ruined or expelled. But the debts never disappeared. They simply returned in another form. Royal courts were also expensive. Kings were expected to display power through ceremonies, buildings, feasts, and gifts. Appearance mattered. A poor-looking king invited challenge. But maintaining status consumed resources without generating income. Prestige cost money and produced no return. Administration was weak. Record-keeping was primitive. Officials skimmed revenue. Corruption was tolerated because enforcement was costly. A king who pushed too hard risked losing loyalty. Control was always limited. Unlike modern states, medieval kingdoms could not print money, manage debt markets, or enforce national taxation. There was no central bank, no permanent treasury, no reliable income stream. Power existed, but liquidity did not. As kingdoms grew larger, the problem intensified. Distance increased costs, local lords kept more revenue, communication slowed. The crown paid more to control less. Expansion often made kings poorer, not richer. This constant shortage shaped medieval politics. Kings sold offices, privileges, and monopolies to raise cash. Justice became transactional, authority fragmented. Every financial crisis weakened central power and strengthened local elites. Medieval kings were always broke because the economic world had not yet caught up to political ambition. They ruled before the tools of modern finance existed. Their power rested on land and loyalty, not money and systems. Only when states learned to tax broadly, borrow institutionally, and control currency did rulers stop living on the edge of bankruptcy. Until then, crowns were heavy, but treasuries were light. That is why medieval kings looked powerful, ruled vast lands, and still lived one bad harvest or one war away from financial collapse.